Third part of the analyze step is your goals. And I've saved this to last only because two reasons. One, there's a ton of books on goal setting. There's a ton of good material out there. And the other is there's a workbook that I'll also send you if you want to do that with your card on how to actually work this out with the roadmaps. But let me walk you through the process. I had a weird childhood growing up. I had schoolwork because I went to school, so I had homework from my school. And then my parents gave me homework as well. They said, you're a Pitman. So you're going to listen to these positive motivational tapes, Zig Ziglar, Brian Tracy, Bob Berg, and you're going to listen to a side of a tape and take notes on it each day, and you're going to read books, How I Raised Myself from Failure to Success in Selling with Frank Bettger, and Zig Ziglar's See at the Top, and 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. That was part of, I didn't know that families didn't operate that way. I thought everybody had school homework and family homework. So from a very young age, I've been studying goal setting, and about 15 years ago, I decided, I didn't realize I was in quadrant 3 at that point, but I decided, what if I analyzed all that I like about goal setting and put it into one system? And so this is what I've done. The first step is to write a list of 100 things. The first time I did this was for my life. I try to do this every year now, and I keep it in my journal, and every time I transfer a journal, I rewrite the 100 things. Why I like 100 things is that it forces you to get past the practical into the fanciful. One of my 100 things is I want to be interviewed by Oprah. And I kept it on the list even though she doesn't have her TV show anymore because she's still an influencer. And I'm a real student of language. So somewhere along the way in the 15 years, I started saying I want to be positively interviewed by Oprah. I don't think she does hit job interviews, but I don't want to be the first. So I'm just trying to be really clear on what my stated goals are. When we do this with Quadrant 3 Leadership Intensive, where we get leaders around a table and actually carve out time in the day to actually do this, most of them find within a short time that they're bringing themselves to their list. They're of the things. They're forgetting that they had these goals for their family, or they had these educational dreams that aren't really work-related, but they really wanted to learn how to cook or pick up a new language, or travel dreams. And they'll often say to me, Mark, come over here. Is that okay that I put this on my list? I said, yeah, it's your list. You could put whatever you want on there and just fill up the 100. What will tend to happen is the first 10 come really quickly, the next 10 don't. And then you'll get another spurt of about 20, and so it may take a few days to do this. As you do this, if you just write out your 100, what do you want in your relationships, what do you want in your economics, your education, travel, there's all sorts of ways you can look at this. If you did nothing but this, put it in a drawer, I know you'd be shocked if you pulled it out 12 months later and looked at it. There's something about writing goals down that has a crystallizing effect, and we orient ourselves and our activity around them even when we're not aware of it. I've had more people that have gotten not past this step that have Skype called me or phone called me and said, oh my goodness, I put this thing down there and I thought it was fanciful and out there, and now I just stumbled across the list. That's my life now. I'm living like this. One executive director I coached put down just 9 months ago, exercise 5 days a week. She's like, that's never going to happen. Not with the kind of workload I have and the family load I have. She just told me last month, it's happening. I looked at my list again. Every 5 days a week, she's getting up at 5 in the morning and enjoying it. It's like she didn't. So writing it down is good. But then what I want you to do is look it out, take it out again and look at it and read it all through, and then just write what I call the history of the future. Project yourselves 12 months into the future and you've accomplished everything that is on the list. How do you feel about yourself? What are other people saying about you? What's your partner or spouse or friends? What are they saying? What is your board or your work environment saying? What is your community saying about you? Write it down. It doesn't have to be long. It could be just a couple paragraphs. Some people do 4 pages. I wouldn't. I'd just do a couple paragraphs. And then put that in the drawer. Having done this, one development director wrote this and said, holy cow, my staff doesn't have any clue. I want our workplace to be a fun workplace to be in. Because they just see the goals and the grind and the back to zero. I actually have this I'm operating from this belief system that I want, but they don't see it. So that helped her clarify what she wants to do. And then you look for the magnet goals. And the magnet goals there's 2 kinds of magnet goals. What you do is you take your list out again, read your history of the future, and then you look through your list, and I like to take a Sharpie and put dots next to the goals that either make sense logically. If I accomplish this goal, I'll accomplish a lot of others with it. If planting a garden was one of my goals, I'll also write, and I wrote out plant carrots, plant cabbage, plant radish, because I'm trying to get to 100. Weed, and all that. If I plant the garden, all these other goals are going to go with it. That's a magnet goal. But then there are going to be some that just kind of pop off the page or give you a little spurt of joy. And just put a dot next to it. Review those and try to choose the 3 to 5. When I did this 15 years ago, I was in a startup mode. I just moved from the boarding school on Long Island to Maine to take over our family's homestead, and I was trying to do this whole fundraising coach thing that's now Conquer Leadership Group. And one of the goals that popped up was ballroom dancing lessons with my wife. Like, eating on a daily basis was where my mentality was at. Like, how do I provide for my family? But ballroom dancing lessons with my wife came up. And if you get the workbook, you'll see that became a powerful goal that I didn't even know the impact until later. But it was because I was trying to figure out, we can't afford lessons and a babysitter. So what if we had a tutor come here and we'd have conversations with her? How do we do this? What if we had friends come over and do this? A year later, she said, Mark, that goal meant so much to me because even though you were in the startup mode and trying to provide for us, I still knew I was first. You hadn't married the business, you still married me. So there's working through that, there's a whole roadmap. You put the goal at the top, what has to be done, what dates have to get done, who's going to help you with that, what obstacles you may encounter, what resources can help you with those, and who's your accountability partner or coach.